meeting is being recorded.
Hello, everyone. Happy 50th anniversary of Sydney Banks and the Principals. So, I was asked to partake in this and I was elated to do so. I know this needs to be whittled down to 10 minutes, so we're going to jump right in. Um, the first question I was sent was, could you briefly share what your life looked like before you had your first insight into the three principles? So, before coming into the three principles, my life was pretty chaotic. I have a history of depression um, throughout my life, and there have been times I've been in some really dark places. Um, so when those moments would happen, I would kind of spiral out of control and kind of be in a dark hole or a dark place, and it just wasn't a very good place. I also had a hard time with accepting what may be going on in my life, good or bad, um, and just kind of embracing the unknown. So I would say that before the principles, it was really easy for me to get sad and get stuck there. Very fearful of what people thought, if I was doing the right things, um, according to other people's standards, if I was meeting expectations, things of that nature. So it just wasn't a very good place to be in. Lots of anxiety at times. And yeah, just felt like I was wearing a mask most of the time. Um, Good at putting on that mask when I needed to, making everybody else happy around me, but not necessarily, not necessarily myself, and not doing the things that I wanted to do. So yeah, I would say that's where I was. And even though I wasn't on medication for depression, I've been on it, and I just I just didn't like what my life was like on it and having to rely on it. Not that that's a bad thing, but for me, it just wasn't working. So, um, what was my biggest insight? I would say that, or what was my insight? I have two that stick out for me, and I haven't been aware of the principles long. It's just barely been a year. But the first one was when I read The Space Within. And afterwards, the biggest thing that hit me was that I am love. Like, I don't have to go searching for love. I don't have to do anything to um, get love from others. That I was love. That's what I'm made out of. Um, and I never thought of love in that manner. So that hit me pretty hard. And the second biggest one was when I was at the beach with some friends that were visiting, and I was looking out into the ocean. And at the time, I was listening to music, and I was watching the rise and the fall of the currents come in and out ever so slowly. So at that moment, I thought to myself, why are we not doing that with our lives? You know, why are we not floating with the currents? You know, when you see something float, it just moves along with the current in and out. Um, there's no force against it. Where in our lives as human beings, we tend to force ourselves against life, force ourselves against the currents. And that's counterproductive. I've noticed at the most, um, I would say, saddest moments of my life, or moments of despair, or moments of anxiety, when I just let go and allowed myself to float along with the current. Things always worked out. I always felt better. The outcome was always better, you know? And that was the biggest thing I got from that in that moment. So how has my life changed and my practice changed since gaining a new understanding based on 3Ps? Okay. So my life has changed in really, really big ways. Um, I don't get as emotional. Um, I'm a lot calmer than where I was before. I'm more aware of my sadness. So it's not to say I don't get sad anymore. I'm aware of it. So when I'm aware I'm in that spiral of sadness or going into that dark hole, um, I'm just aware of it. And I just let it ride out instead of what I did before, which was fighting against it, feeling like that I had to do something to make myself feel better, feeling guilty because I'm in such a depressed place. I don't do that anymore. All I do is, like the current, I just ride it out. Um, and by doing that, I'm not as uncomfortable and it doesn't last as long. So that's the biggest thing I've found. And it took me a minute to accept that because in the beginning, I thought I was always supposed to stay in this blissful state. And I realized that that's unrealistic. As human beings, we're not going to do that. But I can ride out those currents when those currents come and when those times come. And it's helped me change my life in a major way. And I realize that that radiates to others. So when I'm allowing myself to float and, go along with the unknown and things that may come, um, I realize that I give permission for others in my life to do so. Or they see me doing that. And even though they might not understand it or know what that is, I see a shift in them in the way they handle things, even if they're not aware of it yet. So, how has it changed my practice? Well, I'm just beginning my practice. I'm just getting started. Like I said, I'm fairly new. So, I'm excited to see what that looks like. I don't know yet, but I know it's going to be a game changer. And I know as I continue to deepen my understanding and just be the principles, that's going to affect every area of my life, my practice, my relationships, my children, my husband, my friends, my parents, my sibling. Um, it's just going to ripple out. So I'm excited about that and what that's going to look like. So how do I see this understanding changing the field of mental health and our understanding of the human spirit? Oh, it's going to change it immensely. It's already started with me. It's been changing my mental health, been changing my depression and PTSD. And I didn't think that there was something that could help with that, especially with what I had been through with dealing with previous sexual assault and previous domestic abuse. Um, I think that anyone who's struggling with any mental illness, depression, anxiety, PTSD, any type of trauma, they can only benefit from the principles. Um, it may change people's lives in various ways. So it may not all look the same, but I believe everybody can be impacted and it'll impact for the better. And once that happens and they see how that effectively changes their lives and them living life from the inside out instead of from the outside in, knowing that it starts within them first and resonates out, there's not going to be any area of anyone's life that the principles doesn't touch. And not just their life, but everyone's lives around them. And it's just going to continue to ripple out. And um, I'm very excited to see what that's going to be like. Because in the field of mental health, and I'm not a psychiatrist, psychologist, I'm not a doctor, but I've seen the effects with other people who have gained this understanding and applied in their lives and how it's affected their mental health, either personally or in the lives of their clients or in the lives of their friends or family members. And I think that once people really get exposed to it and get an understanding of it, yeah, it can change the world. It is going to change the world. I think that this is what mental health has been waiting for. Not to say that those other things don't help, because I'm someone who did use medication. And if I needed to use it still, I would. but I've never come across anything that gave me the type of awareness that I have now, and me understanding that I hold the keys to how my life is lived. And coming from the inside out instead of the outside in, I'm living a much better quality of life. So, yeah. So, happy 50th anniversary, Sydney Banks. Um, this is this has just been a transformation for me in my life, and that's all I can say. So, as we continue to celebrate, I'm grateful, I'm thankful, my heart's full of gratitude for the principals, Sydney Banks, and all the wonderful people I've met along the way and will continue to meet along the way and have impacted my life. So, thank you.